Good morning and welcome to another Matt's Thought for the week. The thought that's kind of been going through my head this week is this kind of question of how long? How long will we have to wait? How long will we have to wait until lockdown is completely lifted? How long until we can meet properly back as a church? How long will it be until we can be together with our families again, like properly, in our houses? How long until we can go on holiday? How long until we can go back to normal? And how long can we expect to wait until we can go back to living our lives as perhaps we did before? So this week I've kind of been really getting my head around this whole thing about patience. This whole thing of how long. I'll be honest, I'm not patient. I like immediacy. I like it especially when I order an ebook, that it's there almost immediately. I don't have to wait really, it just downloads and it's there ready to read. I even get frustrated waiting for post. I sit and order something and I'm almost tempted to look at the doormat, at the to see whether it has arrived already through the letterbox. And I'm like, come on already, when will it be here? And at the moment I'm thinking, when will this be over? There's some great signs, great indicators that maybe we're starting to come back to normal. But this kind of sense of normality still seems some way off. I used to hate waiting for the end of the school day or the start of the summer holiday. There are so many milestones in life, and we could end that. I can't wait until I'm 18. I can't wait until I'm old enough to do that thing. I can't wait until I'm able to get on an aeroplane. And it's so easy to wish our lives away. It was a few years ago, it's probably quite old now, there was a film called Click. And the main character had this remote control that he discovered. It had some kind of like magical properties that allowed him to fast forward through time. And he could use it to control his life, to replay the things he liked and fast forward through the bits that he wasn't so keen on. And he realised that when he was an old man, that he'd perhaps fast forwarded a bit too much. He had fast forwarded some of the most important parts. And these had been slow, boring moments to him. But much too quickly he had kind of wished away those times that he had with his family, that he'd not taken time to appreciate some of the parts of his life that he personally wanted over quickly but were meaningful to other people. He missed out on opportunities to just take life in and allow himself to just be. And sometimes there can be a real temptation to do that. Not with a physical remote control to our life, but so often we can be looking forward to what comes next that we miss the moment that we're in right now. And this week is a really short Bible passage. In fact, it's one verse. And it's Romans 12:12. And it says, "Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, and faithful in prayer." So short, I'm just going to read it to you once again. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, and faithful in prayer. And because I'm talking about patience today, I want us to kind of focus in on that bit that's sandwiched right there in the middle, patient in affliction. And right now we've got this kind of sense of restriction to our lives, maybe not necessarily affliction, but when we start to think about it, waiting is something that really starts to crop up time and time again in the Bible. And I've just got 3 examples that I want to share really, really quickly. The first one is Abraham and Sarah. They were told that although Sarah was barren, she was unable to have children, that one day they would have a son. In fact, it says that Abraham was going to be the father of many nations. And they waited 25 years for this to be fulfilled. And in fact, when Sarah gave birth to Isaac, she was 90 and Abraham was 100. And they had their doubts, but God honoured his promise. They waited and God delivered. The second one is Joseph. I'm not talking about Joseph, Jesus' adopted dad. I'm talking about Joseph and his amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. Joseph the Dreamer. If you know the story, you'll remember that he was sold by his brothers into slavery. He was the subject of much envy. His dad had given him this special cloak, and he just kind of pushed them over the edge when he shared these dreams that he felt were from God, that his brothers and his father were one day going to be bowing down to him. And this kind of pushed his brothers over the edge, and they sold him into slavery. He ended up in prison, but then became Pharaoh's right-hand man, and he rose to the chief command after interpreting Pharaoh's dream. Something like 17 years passed before he rose to the position that God had promised him in his dream, right at the beginning of this story. The third example is of David, and I'm talking about King David here. God anointed David, but he didn't become king straight away. He went back to being a shepherd, back to just tending sheep. But God eventually brought his plan through, and David was crowned king. And David's story is not without its struggles and times of boredom and waiting and just doing the hard graft of being a shepherd. But he waited something like 15 years for all of this to come about. And yet God promised. There was waiting, patience needed, but God delivered. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison. He lived in very basic surroundings. He endured hard labour. He had to work in quarrying rock. During the time, he gained amazing gifts for leadership. And he watched and waited probably as the best part of his life passed by. 27 years. But in 1990, he was released, became a global figurehead for racial equality. And he started a journey for others to follow. In 1994, he became president of South Africa. And although he had immensely difficult times of waiting, he seized his moment to be truly influential. He could have wallowed in self-pity, but instead waited for his chance to make something very powerful of his life. And I love that story. I love that Nelson Mandela, could have quite easily given up and been like, well, that's me gone, that's me done. But actually he held out, and he has made a lasting impact on history. And this time in lockdown, for me anyways, felt like a kind of metaphorical prison. We've still got our freedoms, we can go for walks, we can meet in small groups, get food, things are gradually getting lifted. And those things feel really good. But the truth is, I still get frustrated about not seeing the end in sight. To be honest, at the beginning I thought, this will be over very quickly. But it's not. And I'm hopeful that the end is coming a lot of the time. I think, it's coming soon. But there are some days when I'm thinking, can it not just be done? But I am completely assured that God will have been using this time for his purpose. Okay, so like the stories of David and Joseph and Abraham and Sarah, somehow we will come out of this time with a new perspective, or maybe even just a new appreciation for those around us. Maybe that sense of freedom will help us not regret or take things for granted. Maybe we'll have discovered in this time new talents, skills, or taken a step back and re-evaluated our life's journey. Maybe in this time, just maybe, we've come a bit closer to God. Through praying more, maybe getting stuck into our Bible a bit more, and maybe because of the uncertainty of our lives, we just cling to God a little bit more. I think it's normal, human even, to fast forward through seasons of our lives, a bit like I was talking about that remote control earlier, that are hard or a struggle. But I truly believe that God uses all seasons of our lives to shape us. And although, like you, I'm still frustrated, still wanting to be able to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I want to know the expiry date of lockdown. But I don't. But I can rest assured that this time is not wasted. If anything, looking back at some of the heroes of faith, Joseph, David, they were made to wait for ages, for years even. But their waiting shaped and equipped them for the next chapter of their lives. And I don't think it feels all that significant right now. Most days feel very similar. The weeks passed, the days go by, and some things alter slightly, but the frustration of not knowing the future causes impatience in me to grow and rise up. I want to hit that fast forward button, but I might just miss what God is trying to teach me through this. Perhaps waiting is a good thing. There's no quick fix. Waiting is not always easy, but by trusting God, the author of life, He gives us the power and the patience to take each day as it comes, and to do the best with each opportunity that He gives us. Maybe a great song for you to go away and listen to in a moment could be Waiting Here For You by Martin Smith. The lyrics of that song say, "You are everything you've promised. Your faithfulness is true. We're desperate for your presence. All we need is you. Waiting here for you." Maybe that would help you to go and process some of the stuff that you're facing at the moment in this season of feeling impatient. It certainly has for me, and I'm certainly going to go and listen to it again in a minute. But maybe we can use this time to just pray, be before God. Lord, what do you want me to be learning in this time? Lord, would you give me faith to believe that you are preparing me for the next season of my life? Lord, I wait here for you. Give me patience. In Jesus' name, Amen.